Now, Wano could be the first time we actually get to see a Yonko's true power, or I'm hoping that this is the time that we actually get to see what a Yonko is like at full strength, especially given the fact that Yonko being involved here has been hyped up for a very long time and is one that is perceived to be one of the strongest characters in the series based on his title as the strongest creature in the world. And because of that, I think we're all expecting crazy things from Kaido in this arc. Now granted, a lot of people did have their hopes betrayed in the Oden flashback because Kaido didn't look as impressive as he was hyped up to be, but again, people have to realize that that was 20 years ago and that Kaido most likely got stronger in these 20 years, most likely tiers above what he was 20 years ago. So I don't really see the issue with what happened in the flashback with Oden and Kaido, because that is not what Kaido is in the current timeline. So going back to the idea of seeing a Yonko at their full potential, I think one of the reasons that a lot of us wants to see this is because ever since Marineford, we've always questioned how strong these characters were in their prime or in peak condition. And the reason for this is because when Whitebeard pulled up to Marineford, even though he had the title as the strongest man and had a reputation as one of the only individuals that was able to go toe-to-toe with Roger, I think for the most part that wasn't the case anymore because he was old and sick. Old and sick to the point that fathers were even doing damage on him. And even then, this man was extremely powerful. Whitebeard has been top 3 in terms of insane feats that has been presented to us in the entire story. And so a lot of us wondered, what if Whitebeard was in his prime, or how strong is a Yonko in peak condition? And I think that's what we're going to be seeing in this arc. Now granted, there might be nerfs on Kaido because even Oda said in one of his interviews that he doesn't exactly know how to kill Kaido or how Luffy is going to defeat Kaido because he's so strong. But I think before that happens, Oda is going to show us why these Yonkos are extremely powerful, and I think that's something that a lot of us are waiting for, because once we see what a full powered Yonko can do, I think we can now scale it to the other Yonkos and have a grasp on how strong these top tiers are, because even now it's very hard to say how strong the Yonkos are. We know that they're extremely powerful, some of the strongest fighters in the world, but how do they compare to other characters like the Admirals, Akainu, the old generation, Prime Guard, Prime Roger, Prime Whitebeard, and these other characters? This is a big question that a lot of people would like to know, and I'm hoping that we get to see this in Wano. And we have to remember that we have Big Mom involved in this arc as well, so the scale of this battle is probably the greatest we've had since Marineford. And Oda makes this very clear just because of the sheer size of the island. Onigashima is massive. In terms of scale, probably one of the biggest islands we've ever seen in the entire series, and I think the reason why it's so massive is because of the incredibly large scale of this war. The island sets the precedence of how massive this battle is going to be, and it's almost a perfect battleground for the amount of powerhouses that we have on both sides, Kaido and Luffy. And I think it makes a lot of sense that the island is probably going to be in shambles after all the fighting has been done. I mean, we even got an indication of that when Big Mom and Kaido were fighting earlier in this arc. And this brings me to the person at the forehead of this arc, Kaido. Now for the most part, Zoans have been regarded as the weakest ever for class, and this was not only due to it being underwhelming in the pre-time skip, but also because it paled in comparison to a lot of Paramecia and obviously to the Logias. Now there was Rob Lucci and the Cypher Pole, who were pretty powerful, but I think a lot of what was impressive about them was what they had on top of the Zoan, which was the Rokushiki techniques, which by itself was a very powerful combat ability. And then we moved on to the Awakened Guard Jailers, who showed us something new and something that has been sort of reiterated time and time again about Awakened Zoans, and that was their insane ability to take damage and recover extremely quickly. If you didn't kill them or do lethal damage of sorts, they would always come back. And this is something that we're seeing with Jack, whereas he's been taken care of so many times. Prime examples being him versus Fujitora, Jack versus Ino and Neko, whereas he was the problem that they couldn't overcome and was said to have been fighting for 10 days straight. And also him getting hit by Zunisha, which KO'd him, granted, but he gained consciousness afterwards. So one of the main themes or aspects of Kaido's crew is endurance, stamina, and durability. Everything physical wise for these guys is very high up. And with the introduction of the ancient types and mythical, those physical traits will be taken to levels that we've never seen before. And I think one of the reasons Oda is hiding a lot of these hybrid forms might be because of how powerful they are, especially when it comes to calamities. And of course, you have the awakening to take into account as well. We know what awakening does for normal zones, but for ancients, we're not sure. Now, it might have similar aspects, but to a much higher degree. And then of course, mythicals most likely have a special awakening, given that they don't really follow the same scheme as other zones, and mythical fruits usually come with a secondary ability that could possibly be enhanced chance with awakening, and I think that all calamities are most likely awakened. And one of the more important aspects about zones is the base form of the user, and as stated by Rob Lucci, the more you develop your body, the more powerful your transformation would be. Even more so if you have a specific fighting style that goes along with it, such as Rokushiki for example. And that's one of the things you would notice about the calamities. These guys are huge, massive, and they just seem to be insanely durable just based on their appearance alone. We have to remember what it took for Doflamingo to be defeated: a Gamma Knife, several Gear Force attacks from Luffy, and also a King Kong gun. And I am of the assumption that every calamity possesses a much higher durability and endurance threshold than Doflamingo due to the nature of zones, and mythicals even more so. I think this might be a huge wall for the Alliance to overcome when it comes to Kaido and the calamities. The issue is not about defeating them, the issue is really about putting them down for the count. I think the calamities will be defeated, but the issue is how long are they going to be out for. It seems that once knocked out, it's only a matter of time before the recovery ability kicks in, and I assume it's a lot higher than those of the Jail Guard Beast and Belt Down. Kaido has been defeated multiple times. To be fair, 7 isn't really a lot for a person's lifetime, but regardless, Kaido has been defeated before, but he couldn't be killed. And I think one part of his mortality stems from his incredible crazy recovery time that Zoans have, but on a much higher level than Ancients. We know Kaido has a mythical Zoan Dragon Fruit. Well, it's assumed that he has one, but hasn't actually been confirmed in the series yet. But these dragons in mythology have been linked to being immortal or being indestructible in some fashion. So I think it makes sense that apart from the physical traits that he gets from the fruit, he also gets one more ability that we're not aware of yet, just like other mythicals, and that might be one of the ties to his supposed immortality. Now there might be more mysterious elements that we're not aware of yet, but I feel like his fruit plays some part in it. And of course, awakening is something that we don't know how it works for ancients and mythical types yet. And for the caliber of zone users that we've seen in Kaido's top brass, I think a lot of these guys will most likely specialize in ornaments, or that would be the form of haki that they would be more adept in because it fits the combat aspect and the brute force nature of zones. I think that's what's going to make them hard hitters. I think King might have this level 4 ornament that Luffy has, which would kind of make sense in terms of the parallel with Big Mom and Kaido's crew. Katakuri has the best observation and King has the best ornament. Plus we know that he's a swordsman to some regard, and ornament plays a huge role in that fighting style. And so going back to Kaido here, one of the more frightful things about him is his physical prowess in base form. It is on a level that we haven't seen from any other character in the series. The only other person that comes close is Big Mom. And again, I'm not surprised as to why people view him as immortal. He was the same person who jumped off a sky island taking little to no visible damage. When someone has suicide as a hobby and is unable to kill himself given how powerful they are, I think that says something about Kaido. And this even goes back to the statement about him being someone who challenged the Yonkos and the Marines single-handedly being key word here. And so Kaido having this insane overpowered base form, Kaido's hybrid form is going to be on another level. If he's crazy durable in base form and is then amplified by the dragon skills that he gets for his dragon form and his hybrid form, and also the physical application he gets in strength, just how overpowered would Kaido be at this point? And then we have to remember that he most likely has a high level of ornaments, possibly the advanced level same as Luffy. And then you also have to take into account what awakening does for Kaido, and it's even going to be more special given the caliber of person that we're talking about here. So in terms of physical traits, durability, stamina, and physical strength, out of any character in the series, including Whitebeard, I think Kaido is probably at the top. And again, the scale of this battle has been shown to us. Onigashima is massive, and by the end of this, the whole island is probably going to be razed to the ground, like Dressrosa, right? Including the massive skull in the middle, that thing is probably going to be gone. But again, I think we're going to see new things about Zoe and their recruit abilities that would put them in a different light. And I'm actually excited to see more from the Calamities because these guys are actually commander level characters with Zoans. So it's very safe to say that they will be using Zoan fruits in ways that we haven't seen before. And with Marco involved in this arc, it would be amazing to see more from him too. But what are you guys' expectation for the Calamities and Kaido potentially being the first Yonko that we see going all out? Comment down below what you guys think. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe for more One Piece content. It is Pharaoh, and I will see you folks later. Peace.